So questions on the translation exercises for chapter 38 here. Let's do those. Which ones you want to go through? 2? Number 2? All right. Let me read this out loud for you. Va anus me hamilchama lifnei re'otham othi. Okay, so here's one of our hollow verbs here, va anus. And how do we translate this? Yeah, we want to identify the root letters. Do you see the va in front here? That might be what? Yeah, this is a vav of the Vayiktol or WCI variety. And anytime you have one of those vavs, the next letter is always one of the nutty prefixes. Here it's an aleph. So that is which person, gender, number? That's right, 1CS. So whatever this means right here, it's and I blanked. And you're like, yeah, I think that's what I just did. I blanked. And so what's nous? To escape, to flee. I remember somebody wants to put a noose around my neck. I am going to try to escape or flee. Okay? So there you go. Is this a perfect, or excuse me, a cal, nifal, pl, pual, hifil, hofal, hitpile? That is the good old cal. Okay, so I've got a noon samic for my roots. You know from your vocab list that nous is a middle vav verb. And what vowel class is a shurik here? It is it's a U class vowel, right? And that is going to be common with these middle vav verbs in the cal, imperfect and WCIs and justives. Okay. Now, if you're not sure that you've parsed this correctly as a cal WCI 1CS, then go to your weak verb paradigm and find a cal WCI form and look and see, does my vowel pointing match here? All right. So let's do that. Let's go back to the hollow verb. And nous is a middle vav verb, and it's active to escape, flee. So it's going to follow the cum pattern, right? Mate and bosh are stative verbs, so you would use those if you've got a stative verb that is hollow. And then sam is a middle yod formation. So if you had a verb that had a middle yod, a Keurig yod for its lexical form, then you'd want to compare it with this one. We're going to compare it with cum. And what did we say? We said WCI, first common singular, right? The imperfect first common singular is akum. And that looks a lot like anus, doesn't it? Anus, akum. I just have a kof and mem here. I have a noon and a samic in my form in the exercise. And then, of course, the WCI form is going to have the vav pathak before it. And it would try to put a doubling dot in the first consonant. He's only giving you the 3MS form, but realize that any of these nutty prefixes from the imperfect can go here where that yod is. And if I have an aleph there, the aleph is going to reject that dagesh forte and cause the pathak, the short A, to compensatorily lengthen. So I've pretty much got all the identifying marks, but I have to kind of put them together here in this weak verb paradigm chart. But this is and I fled or and I escaped. Now, what is me hamilchama? Yeah, from the battle. Good. And then lifnei means before. Now, this can be spatial or temporal. Before a time or literally before a person or a thing. I escaped from the battle before Ru'otham. Now here I have a, this is not a hollow verb. This one's going to be a little bit tricky for us because it's a weak verb, and it's a weak verb from right about the end of our semester back in maybe Hebrew. Ru'otham. What do you think the verb is here? What's the lexical form? Yeah, this is from Ra'ah, which is Resh, Kametz, Aleph, Kametz, Hey. So what kind of a weak verb is this? What weakness is this with a Kametz Hey ending? What do we call those weak verbs? 3 Hey. Okay, so this is a 3 Hey verb. Now look at what I've got. I've got the Resh, and I've got the Aleph. Okay, I've got roots 1 and 2. What happens in 3 Hey verbs a lot? Well, I don't have a third root letter visible, right? That's one of the things that makes this difficult and weird for us is, the backside of my 3 Hey verbs is always going to be different than what the strong verb does with its third root letter. Now, what do I have here? I've got Resh and Aleph, and then I have Ot right here, okay? Now, when you see an Ot, there's 2 things that could possibly be. It could be a feminine plural, noun or adjective ending, right? That's fairly common. Or there's one other thing that Ot always does with 3 Hey verbs. So anyhow, the Ot could be doing one other thing in 3 Hey verbs. What does the Ot also do? I'm sorry, what's that? Well, that's not so much what I'm thinking. You could have like a holem vav, as a helping vowel, to get to a consonantal perfect ending. But I'm thinking specifically in terms of 3 Hey verbs. We see Ot a lot in which form of a 3 Hey verb? The infinitive construct. Yes. Okay. So let's review that weak verb paradigm for 3 Hey verbs real quickly. We want to just go back to this page here, 3 Hey paradigms, and we want to look at the infinitive construct of our 3 Hey verbs. And did you see here? It's got after root 2, Ot in every infinitive construct. You see that? Every single one. Okay, root 1, root 2, and then Ot for the end. So look here. If I have a vocal shuvah under root 1 and then Ot, it's a Kal. The nifal will have higa and then lot. The PL and pual will have the or the u and the doubling in root 2. Hithpael has the hith prefix, and the hifal and hofal have the hey prefixes. So there's only 3 infinitives that have no prefixing: the Kal, the PL, and the pual. And so if we go back to our exercise, we have Ru'otham, no prefix before it, but with a vocal shva under it. That's got to be what? It's got to be Kal. So this is a Kal infinitive construct of Ra'ah. And then there's something attached to the end of the infinitive construct Ra'ot. That's an ending. Is a pronoun. And do we often see pronoun suffixes attached to infinitive construct? Yeah, we do, right? Very, very frequently. What's the ending? It's plus 3MP. All right. So what does Ra'ah mean in the Kal? To see. So I fled from the battle before the act of seeing of them. That is to say, before their seeing othi, that's my direct object, before their seeing me. Okay? Now, because the time frame of this verb with this vayiktol or WCI at the beginning is past, then even though the infinitive by itself does not mark time, I can give it a tense value because of the context that the beginning verb gave me. That's past. So I'm going to make this past in my translation. I fled or I escaped from the battle before they saw direct object me. Okay? Is that clear? Let me rephrase that. Is that clearer? All right. What else? Okay, let's look at number 7 here. And again, I'll read the text for us here slowly. You follow along here. Yekon melech tzadik al ha-kiseh v'yashiv tzedakah. Okay, so here I have yekon. If I assume for a moment that this yod is a prefix yod, how many consonants do I have in the verbal core here? Just 2. Kaf and nun. And if that is the case, this could be a hollow verb. What would be the middle vowel for the lexical form? Shurik. This could be kun, right? All right. Now, that yod prefix then would be the 3ms prefix of which conjugation pattern? Yeah, so this could be imperfect. And guess what? There's one other conjugation pattern that almost always looks exactly like the imperfect, and that would be the adjussive. Remember, the imperative will chop off the prefix, but the adjussive and the imperfects are usually the same. There's only a certain weak verbs where they differ from each other. Okay? So this could be an imperfect or adjussive 3ms. Now let's figure out which stem it is. I have a Keurig under the nutty prefix. We see that in only 2 places. Really, that's the Kal and the Nifal have an I-class vowel under the nutty prefix. But only one of them characteristically puts a doubling dot in root 1. Which one, the Kal or the Nifal? The Nifal. Okay? The Nifal gets the doubling in root 1. So we will go with the Nifal imperfect or adjussive 3ms. So what does kun mean in the Nifal? In the Kal, it means to establish, right? So in the Nifal, we're going to make that passive to be established. Now, this, if it's 3ms, I'm looking for some masculine singular participant to be the subject, and it turns out that this verb is immediately followed by melech, which is masculine singular. So it's possible that the king is the subject. So it's either the king will be established, if it's imperfect, or if it's adjussive, how would we translate it? Yes. Let king be established. Okay? Now, notice melech does not have the article. So I just realized I said the king, but it's an arthrous. So it could be let a king be established. And what do I have next? Tzaddik is an adjective following the noun. Do they agree in gender, number, and definiteness? Yes. So I know we're pulling the gray matter here. What type of adjective is this? Attributive, predicate, or substantival? Attributive. And that tells you what kind of king, right? So if we go with Joseph, let a righteous king be established. Where? Al-Hakaseh, on the throne, and Yashiv. So if this is a Joseph, in my mind, it makes better sense to think of it as a Joseph. But, I mean, theoretically, it could be imperfect just as well. Okay? So here we have V'yashiv. What am I looking at here? Is this a hollow verb? Is it not? What do you think? How many root letters do I have? Okay, I have two, right? I've got the sheen and the bet. I've got this yod prefix and a kirik yod in the middle. Okay? So this is looking like a hollow verb. What stem gets kirik yods in the middle? Yeah, hifil. Hifil, okay? So this could be shuv. That's one of our new verbs. Shuv, to return, in the hifil, with the yod prefix. That's 3ms. Okay, probably the same 3ms as what we had over here. All right. Now, here's the question. Is this an imperfect or a jussive? Does Hebrew distinguish between imperfects and jussives in the hollow verbs? Can we tell the difference? No? Usually we cannot. But let's take a look here. Go to our hollow verbs. And hifil is the second to the last one here. Look at your jussive, which is right here. Yakem. And look at your imperfect, which is Yakim. You see the difference between those two? He will kum in the hifil, and Yakem, let him kum. We have a sere. We have a kirik yod. All right? So, let's go back here. What do we have? Do we have a sere or a kirik yod in our form? Yep, we got a kirik yod. I have no idea why I went all the way to the beginning here. Excuse me for a moment. Okay, so yes, so we have a kirik yod. So this is the the hifil imperfect, not the hifil jussive, right? So this could be, let a righteous king be established upon the throne, and he will do something. What will he do? He will hifil shuv. Now in the cow, shuv means to do what? To return. So you're going one direction and you turn around and come back. This verb is used for repentance, by the way, in the Hebrew Bible. Okay? You've forsaken God. God's going to call you and Israel to turn back, to come back, to return to me. Now, this is an intransitive verb in the cow. There's no direct object. John's walking, John turns around. Okay, no direct object. Now, in the hifil, it becomes causative, to cause something to return, and it's going to take a direct object. So it would be to turn something back, to cause something to return. That is to say, I have a pen, and I want to make the pen go back to its owner. I return the pen to you, or to him. Okay? So this verb could also be translated as to restore, right? Because when you cause someone's possessions to go back to them, you're restoring them. So what will he do? He will cause righteousness to return, which means he will bring righteousness back. He will restore righteousness. He will return righteousness. Okay? How do I know that righteousness is not the subject of Yashiv? Like, you might be tempted to say, and righteousness will return, right? I mean, that would make good contextual sense. What's that? Okay, yeah. Well, okay, so if it were the subject, it wouldn't be the direct object. That's right. And this verb would require a direct object because it's transitive in the hifil. But there's one other reason that you cannot take tzedakah to be the subject, and it has to do with gender. What gender is the verb? The verb is 3ms, so it's masculine. Tzedakah is what gender? Yeah. Tzedakah is feminine singular. So if it were the subject, then it wouldn't be yashiv, but tashiv. It would need the tav. It would need a third feminine singular prefix. You see? So, listen, there are built-in structures to the language that clue you in, if you understand the grammar, to how to read the sentence properly. Okay? If all you're going is based on what you think the basic meanings of these words are, you will try to make the words fit some way, but it may not be what the author's trying to say. Oh, there's this idea of returning, and oh, there's righteousness. I really like the idea of righteousness returning, so I'm going to translate this as, and righteousness will return. Well, great thought. It would make a wonderful postcard, but it's not what the text says. The text says, he, masculine, will cause to return righteousness, direct object then. Okay? You get it? We talk. Well, let me just make one more comment here. We talk and we harp about how meaning is something that is given to the text by the author, right? We're always wanting to go back to the author's intention. Well, if you really want to take author's intention seriously, you've got to take the grammar seriously. Or it's just a sham when you say you believe in authorial intention. Okay, go ahead.
This keys really nicely into my question. Is there something in the syntax or the context of, obviously this is just a sentence really, but is there something within this limited context that would tell us to interpret the nefal as a passive rather than a reflexive?
Over here at the beginning then, the yakon? Yeah, well, no, I mean, there really isn't anything just in the structure here to tell you that. So it could be, and really, I mean, honestly, this could be the imperfect just as well. So a righteous king will be established. This could, like, a larger context might tell you, oh, this is a prophecy of something in the distant future, okay? If the context is saying that, or if the context makes that clear, then I wouldn't go with a gessive. I would go with an imperfect, because if this is a distant future thing, then nobody right now listening to this is being told to do anything, right? And a gessive is expressing your will that somebody do something. So that's one thing, right? I would need more context to make that decision. And the same with what you're asking. I would need more context to know whether to take this nifal as a truly passive, he will be or let him be established, or a gessive, right? Let a righteous king get established or establish himself. You know, both of those would make sense, but knowing a larger framework of a story would help me to know which of those is the better choice. Yeah, absolutely. Good question. Yeah.
I'm kind of scratching at some distant memories here, but just trying to remember, if we have an imperfect at the start of the sentence, that's often includes a gessive, correct?
Right. That is commonly the case. Yeah. Which is why my initial instinct was to go with the gessive translation. No. You really did hear me say that. Usually Usually justives, cohortatives, and imperatives, the volitional verbs, are in first position in the sentence. All right, very good. Other questions? If you don't, let me go through a couple of other things with you here. Look at number 4. We have vaya, and here's the big question. Is that a kametz ketuf or a kametz? A short O or a long A? Is it vayakam or vayakom? That's right. This is vayakom. It's a kametz ketuf here. Okay? That's a kametz ketuf. The accent is on the ya, and so this is a kus syllable, which means it has to be a short vowel. So whatever this is, it's got to be the short version of it. So it can't be a long A. Got to be a short O. Vayakum. Now, that's from kum. So this is a vav pathak doubling dot, so we know that's a WCI. I have a yod prefix with no ending. We know that's 3MS, right? And with the kametz ketuf here, that's the U class vowel. This is a cal WCI. So, and he arose. La roots. What is la roots? What does that mean? Yeah, to run. To run. So I've got the la, which is the the preposition, followed by an infinitive, right? So this is another hollow verb. Remember, our hollow verbs use the cal infinitive construct for their lexical form. So here, this is easy because this is the form of the verb you learned as a vocabulary word in the lesson. Roots is the lexical form, and it's the cal infinitive construct. And here it's attached to a lamed, a wonder of wonders. That's the kind of verb we attach to lamed, right? Infinitive construct forms. So what is this lamed plus infinitive construct indicating in terms of the semantics? He arose, la roots. How is running related to arising here? Yeah, it's an order to, so we would call this purpose, right? Purpose. The infinitive gives you the purpose of the main verb. He arose. Why? To run. Where? Ha midbara. Ha midbara. What's midbar? Wilderness. What's ha midbar? That's right. And the word midbar does not normally have a kametz hey on it. It's just midbar. So if you know your lexical form and then you see a kametz hey that's unaccented, midbara, then what is that unaccented kametz hey? Yeah, it's giving direction, right? It's the directive or directional hey. He arose to run in a direction, and that direction was Hamidbar, to the wilderness. Okay,